Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the Redacted Report. I am your host, coming to you from an undisclosed location. Today's story, the Elimination Chamber just ended, so I'm going to be giving you my in-depth review of the show. A few surprises. A couple of my predictions did not come true, and we'll talk about them, so let's just go down the list here. And the first, I guess we'll talk about the pre-show. Rey Mysterio defeated The Miz by pinfall. And the only reason I'm bringing this up, because I don't care about really anyone in this match or the pre-show match at all. But if you lump that in with the interview The Miz did on the actual show, he was talking about, like, obviously he needs to find a partner. And he made some comments that he's talking about, he's a worldwide superstar, he's handsome, good looks, and all that stuff. The first person that came to mind, obviously, is Cody Rhodes, because, you know, obviously he's coming to WWE, he's got to have something to do, and, of course, anyone remembers, quote-unquote, dashy Cody Rhodes back in the day. So I figured it's got to be Cody, but now I'm hearing rumors that it's Logan Paul. Now, I'm not a Cody Rhodes fan by any means, but I would rather see Cody Rhodes in this match than friggin' Logan Paul, so let's just hope it's Cody and not Logan Paul. But with WWE, you never know. They like to throw a lot of curveballs at you. So let's get that out of the way real quick now. On to the main show. We kicked it off with Roman Reigns against Goldberg for the Universal Championship. And this match was not a technical masterpiece. I never expected it to be. I thought it would be a good fight. And it was an okay match that went for 6 minutes. I thought it would be a better fight than it was, because I figured your Roman Reigns style and his way of selling and his brawling type of style would really mesh well with Goldberg. And Goldberg, I mean, obviously Goldberg's old. He's not what he once was. His cardio is not great, but one of the biggest issues I've seen with Goldberg over the last couple of matches he's had is his knee is really, really bad. I mean, when he's walking down the ramp to enter the ring for the introductions, he's noticeably limping heavy on that knee, and that's really taking a lot out of his offense, because his offense is very limited. But what he can do very well if he can move. I mean, it's a lot of high-impact stuff. But if he doesn't have both of his knees in working order, obviously anyone who's had a knee injury realizes your explosion is non-existent. And if Goldberg doesn't have his explosion, then he really can't do a very good match. I mean, like I said, it was an okay match. Obviously, Goldberg was not winning this match. And the reason Goldberg was even on this card is because the people of Saudi Arabia wanted him on this card. And if you realize the amount of money that WWE makes per show in these Saudi Arabia shows, they do 2 shows in Saudi Arabia a year, and it's reported that they make about $50 million in revenue for each show. That's why they have guys like Goldberg on the show, because that's who the people there want to see, and with that kind of money, you know, they will bring anybody off the couch and pay them whatever they wanted to. And Goldberg got a lot of money for this, but it was like I said, okay match for what it was. Obviously, Reigns was getting the win. That was just another notch in his belt going into his Mania clash with Brock Lesnar, who we'll talk about later. So Roman Reigns wins. I am surprised he choked out Goldberg. I figured he would get the pin, but I didn't think he would choke him out. And I was wondering if Goldberg was going to tap. I sure as hell didn't think he was going to tap, but choking him out, I'm surprised. But, you know, for what it was okay. It kind of did not live up to my expectations, but I'm not surprised it didn't. Especially as soon as I see the entrance and Goldberg noticeably just hobbled on that knee. I don't know. I mean, obviously, he's probably got some arthritis in there from his football days and his wrestling days, and there's a lot of wear and tear on that knee. So hopefully, maybe if he comes back for another show, which he will, he'll either wrestle someone who's smaller than him that he can kind of ragdoll, sort of like how he did with Dolph Ziggler a couple years ago. But we'll see what happens. But like I said, first match, kick off the show, Roman Reigns defends his Universal Championship by choking out Goldberg. Okay. The second match was the Women's Elimination Chamber match, and it was a pretty good match. And if you noticed, obviously, every woman in the match and every woman really on the show were covered pretty much head to toe. The only thing that was not covered were their hands, their face, and with in Ronda Rousey's case, her feet with her on her gi. So obviously, one of the concessions that was made to allow the women to compete on the shows is as much of their body has to be covered at all times, obviously. And for most of the women, it's not. It didn't really affect the way they looked any, especially like Rhea Ripley and her look. I mean, she actually could pull that look off. And like I said, if you find a woman's wrestler that looks more like a pro wrestler than Rhea Ripley does, please point her out to me, because I don't think any woman, and a lot of men don't look as much like a pro wrestler as Rhea Ripley does. But it was a pretty good match. Alexa Bliss actually looked pretty good for the layoff she's had. I'm surprised it didn't go longer. This match only went 15:45, so. There was, I think it was maybe like 2.5 minute intervals entering the match. They wanted to get it through. And obviously, Bianca Belair wins. I'm not shocked by that one, because really there was only two women that would have won this match. It was either Bianca Belair or Liv Morgan. I was thinking Liv Morgan was going to win, because if anyone's watching my reviews and my previews of the past, I'm going to die on this Liv Morgan hill. I just am. Because I do believe, I was very, very damn near certain that Liv was going to end up beating Becky for the women's title at WrestleMania, but obviously I understand why Bianca Belair is in this match with Becky going into Mania, because she did really get her return match after the SummerSlam debacle, which I didn't agree with how they took the title off of Belair. I understand why they did it and put it back on Becky, but the match didn't have to end in 30 seconds. It could have gone a little longer than that, but I get why they did it, and now they're going to run it back, and it's going to be a pretty good match. So, I don't hate the outcome of the match. I was rooting for Liv Morgan, but I don't have a problem with Bianca Belair. I do think Liv Morgan's time will come. It's just not going to be as soon as I anticipated. But all the women looked good. They had their moments in there. Of course, Liv Morgan, she's always a survivor. She's surviving a lot of these matches, so that the push is still there. And Rhea Ripley is Rhea Ripley. Alexa Bliss, she looked pretty good, and she was actually probably one of the most over people in this match. If you hear the crowd response to her moves, she was pretty over. So Alexa Bliss is she's an impressive wrestler, especially for a lot of people criticize her because she's like 5'1" or something. She's small even for the some of the women that she wrestles, but she can hold her own in the ring. And if Alexa wants to stick with wrestling, she's got a good career, but she may actually have a career in Hollywood in her future. Who knows? So. Yeah, Bianca Belair wins the Elimination Chamber match and is going to go on to face Becky Lynch at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's title. That would definitely be a good match. That'll be probably one of the headliners of night one. But those two will be able to tear the house down, that's for sure. All right, the next match, this might have been your piss break. I didn't really care about this match. Naomi and Ronda Rousey against Charlotte Flair and Sonya Deville. The highlight of this match was Naomi's outfit, because of course, with the women have to be covered from head to toe. My wife and I were both saying, I'm curious to see how much Naomi's glowing, and she really embraces that whole glow thing. And it's a pretty cool sight to see her entrance. And Ronda Rousey, nice little throwback to her judo days, wearing her gi. And Charlotte Flair, that was a weird choice of outfits, because I understand, you got to wear basically a bodysuit, but you think someone who has extravagant robes and extravagant ring attire would actually have something specially made for that occasion, but it seems like she just threw a bodysuit on and said to hell with it. Of course, that's kind of what Charlotte Flair's been, that's kind of been her MO lately. She doesn't seem like she cares a whole hell of a lot about what she's doing in the ring, which doesn't bode well for her match with Ronda at WrestleMania, because she's going to have to carry that match a great deal to make it a good match, so I'm not too optimistic about that match. And Sonya Deville, I don't understand why she gets so much screen time. I don't understand why she's a quote-unquote authority figure. I don't understand why she's a wrestler. She's terrible at it. And I owe Mandy Rose an apology, because during their feud a couple years ago, I was thinking, man, Mandy just doesn't have it in the ring. And all that time, I was completely wrong. It was Sonya Deville who didn't have it in the ring, and Mandy was trying to compensate for that. So I apologize to Mandy Rose. She is way better than I gave her credit for. She is way better than Sonya Deville. why she's even on the roster, I'll never know. She needs to go work on AEW Dark Elevation because that's basically where she belongs. But Ronda Rousey makes Sonya Deville tap out with the armbar. And, of course, Rousey had to wrestle with one arm tied behind her back. But if anybody watched this match, her arm was actually at her side the whole time. It wasn't tied behind her back because the referee it wasn't really tied on tight. And, of course, why should Ronda have to remember to keep her arm behind her back, whether it was loose or not? God forbid, you kayfabe the stipulation, but, that's neither here nor there. This match was basically the piss break. Naomi, once again, showed off her superior athleticism. She's got a bright future, and I think she's got another women's title reign in her future very soon, too. She's really stepped up her game over the last few months, so just need to get her out of this never-ending feud with Sonya. Hopefully by WrestleMania they can get rid of that and Sonya can just go away and go run her donut shop with Mandy or something, because she doesn't need to be on our TV screens. That's for damn sure. So, that match, meh, it was alright, I guess. And now the next match is a disappointing match as well. It's a shame to see Drew McIntyre having to share screen time with Asshat Moss and Boring Corbin. Really, the only highlight of this match was Madcap almost paralyzing himself on that. Basically, it was like an inverted Alabama slam, and for some reason, he tried to tuck and roll on that thing when he should have just landed flat. Almost looking like he's landing face first, but landed flat. Rather than he curled himself up and landed on top of his head. And I will say this, that was a very, very heads-up move by Jessica Carr, the referee, who went immediately and checked on him. And that was her doing. That wasn't someone in the little radio saying, check on Moss. Because the second he landed, she was over there, and she positioned her hands by his head to make sure he was okay before she let them continue, because Madcap Moss is lucky that didn't end his career right there. I don't know what the hell he was thinking, because that wasn't on Drew McIntyre. That was on Moss, because there's only so much McIntyre can do on a slam like that. He can't really protect you. He's holding your legs, and he's whipping you up. You need to protect yourself more, because he's not holding you. Once you're up basically parallel with him, and you're on your way down, it's on you to protect yourself. Drew can't really do anything to protect you in that move. And Moss, I guarantee you, if he's ever in that situation again, he'll remember to land flat, because he could have been killed, let alone just paralyzed. So, and at least McIntyre won. Hopefully he's done with these people. At the end, when he swung the Claymore at Corbin, and Corbin went out and raised hell to Carr, that was pretty funny. But McIntyre definitely needs to be away from these two, because Corbin, I don't know how he's still on the roster. He is absolutely trash. He has never been entertaining at all. I don't care if it was regular Baron Corbin or King Corbin or Broke Corbin or Happy Corbin or whatever Corbin. He sucks. Madcap Moss, he's actually got some potential and some talent there. He just needs a new gimmick, because this gimmick is just dumb. And I didn't really care about this match either. I do like Drew, and I hope Drew gets something better to do for WrestleMania than just wrestling these two schlubs again. So, Drew McIntyre wins in the ring, which is surprising in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And I'm surprised they really didn't go anywhere. They didn't really go into the crowd. They went up the ramp. They didn't go to the backstage area. I don't know if they weren't just maybe they weren't allowed to do that because of being in Saudi Arabia. Maybe they just had different rules. I don't know what was up with that, but yeah, it was what it was. It was okay. McIntyre got the win, which I was worried that he was going to lose and it was going to lead to some kind of handicap match at WrestleMania. Hopefully he's done with these idiots and they can just be relegated to the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal or whatever the hell they do with them. McIntyre needs a prominent spot on the show. I don't know who he's going to wrestle, but you need to give someone for him to wrestle. Even if it's an Intercontinental title match with Sami Zayn. I mean, what a weird, novel idea. Have the Intercontinental Championship defended at WrestleMania in a prominent match. Oy. But McIntyre wins with the Claymore. Hopefully this feud ends. Now, the next match, we have Becky Lynch beating Leda. There's some things I have to say about this match. First off, I will say this. I have never been a huge fan of Leda's in-ring ability, I honestly believe that Leda may be one of the, if not the most overrated women's wrestlers in history of the business. And I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying that, but I just true. She's never really done it for me as a wrestler. I don't really care about Leda. She's been carried to good matches before, but she's not very coordinated in the ring. Everybody talks about her moonsault, which like 9 times out of 10 she completely misses the mark on her moonsault and hits someone either in the legs or the back of the head. So it's just, I don't know. So this match was okay. You could tell Leda had a lot of rust, and Becky was not at her best in this match. She tried her hardest, and like I said, it wasn't Becky's best match either. And I'm not throwing it all on Leda for this. Becky was not on her game today. She was not. So, it was just, for what it was like much like the Goldberg match. Leda is a name over there, and the fans wanted to see her. Obviously, they were very, very into Leda's stuff. So that's a notch in Becky's belt going into WrestleMania with Bianca Belair. So it's the same concept, bring in the legend, but I've never been a fan of Leda. And also, another thing, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter bitching about Goldberg being on this show. And a lot of those people bitching and be like, oh, Goldberg's taking a spot from someone. He's get rid of these legends. These guys aren't good, and they're taking spots away from a young guy. Don't push a young guy, huh? And the majority of those people who are bitching about Goldberg are very silent in terms of Leda being on the card, which the only thing different about that is their genders, because it's the exact same concept. So, but it's okay if Leda's on there, but Goldberg's not, basically. So that's like I say, kind of makes you a little hypocritical, but it is what it is. The people of Saudi Arabia get what they want because they're paying a lot of money. And the 7th match was the Usos versus the Viking Raiders. It ended in a no contest. This match didn't really interest me that much. The Viking Raiders, they are who they are. The Usos are one of the, if not the best tag teams in WWE, one of the best tag teams in the business. They could have got a good match out of them, but I'm guessing they might have just done this because of time constraints, maybe. Who knows? But, I don't really care. A lot of people were mad about this. But no one really cares about the Viking Raiders, dude. And tag team wrestling is just not a focal point in WWE, for better or worse. It's just not. That's all there is to it. But that was a quick end to that thing, and that led us into the men's men's Elimination Chamber match. Sorry, my brain is not working. The men's Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship. Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, Austin Theory, Seth freaking Rollins, and for some reason Riddle. Now we'll just get to that right away. I don't understand. It's a shame that Drew McIntyre had that lame ass feud in that so-so match with Madcap Moss and Corbin, and an idiot like Riddle is in the Elimination Chamber match. It should have been Riddle should not even have made this trip. McIntyre should have been in this match. Because on paper, can you imagine if you got like Brock Lesnar, Bobby Lashley, and Drew McIntyre in that match? Now, obviously, I say on paper because this match ended in a kind of it's a puzzling one. This is the most puzzling ending to a match I've seen in a while. And of course, everybody has Brock Lesnar defeated. And didn't he eliminated everybody in that match. He eliminated Rollins, Riddle, Styles, and Theory. Technically, he didn't eliminate Lashley. I guess you can give that to Rollins for the buckle bomb into the thing. But it is puzzling to me that they did that. I don't know why they did that. Was Bobby Lashley legitimately hurt? That's a question you can think of. Maybe over the past week or something, Bobby Lashley did suffer a real concussion or has a little bit of an injury, so they wanted to kind of make up for it like this. I don't know. I guess time will tell on that. But Brock Lesnar basically kicked open his pod, beat the hell out of everybody, and won the match. And I will a couple things I noticed in that match. If you notice Brock Lesnar's entrance, which by the way, the entrances in both of the Elimination Chambers were weird, because usually in the Elimination Chamber the first 4 guys or girls who enter the ring go into their pods, and then the last two are the ones that start. But that didn't happen this time. It was kind of a mixed match. Not a huge deal. It was just kind of strange. But when Brock showed up, notice how he stared down everyone in the match, and he walked around to everybody's pod and stared them down except for Riddle. He completely made a point to turn his back on Riddle, which I thought was hilarious, because if anyone knows the story, Riddle had been talking a lot of trash about Brock a few months ago, about how he wants to face Brock and be the one to retire him, and he's just trying to basically get himself over at Brock's expense by talking trash. And then Brock went up to him at a show one time when he came back, and he basically, I'll paraphrase it, but he basically said, "You might as well just get my name out of your mouth, kid, because we're never going to work together," and walked away. So he, like pretty much everyone else, has zero respect for Riddle. He's just a stoner idiot who did not deserve to be in this match. It should have been McIntyre. But yes, the ending of this match is very, very puzzling. I do like the fact that Austin Theory, I mean, a lot of people will say, well, Austin Theory was just beat up by Brock for like the last two times he was in the ring with Brock, he got destroyed, which is true. But there's another way you can look at it. You can look at it that the young kid who's actually got a very bright future, he's very talented and got a ton of potential. I wasn't sure about Austin Theory at first, but he's got some serious potential. Hopefully he realizes it in WWE, but wherever he goes, he'll realize his potential in the future. But Austin Theory, even though he was decimated by Brock Lesnar, but the last two times they were in the ring together, he still got a rub from a top guy. That's something, though. I mean, that's something when you're building someone's character. You know, he got the rub on the big guy. He lost, but he lost spectacularly in this one with that. I was wondering what was going to happen when they climbed up on that pod. I was like, what kind of suplex are we going to see here? I was wondering if Brock was going to do I'm pretty certain he wasn't going to do a German, because that was a disaster waiting to happen. But he did the F5 off of that thing. That was kind of funny. So if Brock Lesnar wins the WWE Championship, that begs the question of what's going to happen at WrestleMania, because it's 6 weeks away. Now, could you have Bobby Lashley getting his rematch on an episode of Raw in the next month? Sure, you could do that, and Lashley could come back and beat him. But if they do that, it begs the question, why the hell would you take the belt off of Lashley in this match, unless Lashley is either legitimately banged up, so they didn't want to risk it, but they didn't want to cancel the match or take him out of the match before the match started. They wanted to do something, because it's clearly something's a work, because I mean, Lashley blocked the plexiglass when went through it, so it didn't hurt him. So either he's maybe legitimately has a concussion, or he just got a little nicked up and they didn't want to make it worse going into WrestleMania, or they're one of two scenarios for WrestleMania is going to play out. One of which I like, one of which I don't like. The one I like would be basically Brock Lesnar working both shows, which I don't know if he would want to do that, but if he gets double payoff for working both shows, yeah, Brock will do that. Where, like, night one, he gives Bobby Lashley his rightful rematch, and I would say Lashley probably wins, but maybe Brock does win and goes to champion versus champion match the next night against Reigns, or they just make it a triple threat. Which, I don't necessarily want that match. I want to see this version of Brock Lesnar go one-on-one with this version of Roman Reigns, because they've done it many times before, but it's always been kind of reversed. Sort of. Most of the time, Lesnar's been cheered and Reigns has been booed. That's just because people were sick of Roman Reigns and wanted to see someone beat him up. But now, it's reversed. Like, people are cheering Brock Lesnar because they actually like this version of Brock Lesnar. And happy Brock Lesnar is fun to watch. You know, he seems like Brock is like at the end of this match, you saw him, he was posing for pictures with fans. He never does that. Now, he could be happy with probably the $1 million payoff he got for being on this show. Or maybe he's at the age where he realizes, hey, I'm just going to enjoy this ride, and he is enjoying the ride. So I want to see that one-on-one match with the dynamics switched, because I think it'll be a good match. So hopefully, I mean, obviously it's going to play out in one of those two ways, I think. I can deal with it. I mean, I guess I could deal with it being a multi-man match, because But I would rather see a one-on-one match with Reigns and Lesnar. So the best case scenario right now going forward, if you're going to do this, and have Lesnar go into WrestleMania as the champion, is have him basically main event both nights. Lesnar main event both nights. Whether he wins or loses the night 1 against Bobby Lashley, he goes to night 2 to face Reigns. Because you know Reigns and Lesnar is going to be the main event of night 2. That's just a given. That's the only thing for certain. Reigns and Lesnar are going to be in the final match, the main event of night 2, which is the real main event. I mean, quote unquote, there is a quote unquote main event of night 1, but it's really not the WrestleMania main event. But it's the main event of night 1, so whatever. So, like I said, 6 weeks to WrestleMania. We'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to go on, whether or not Lashley's going to get the title back. Maybe he's really hurt. Who knows? Maybe he needs time off. I don't know what's going on with that. So, like I said, go around it. Reigns beats Goldberg. Bianca Belair wins the Elimination Chamber. Goes on to face Becky at Mania. Naomi and Ronda Rousey beat Charlotte and Sonya. McIntyre beat Madcap Moss. Becky Lynch beat Leda. The Usos jumped the Viking Raiders and then ended in a no contest. And Brock became I believe a 10-time champion by basically destroying everyone but Bobby Lashley in this match, and Bobby Lashley leaving because he was in quote-unquote concussion protocol. So, we will see what happens going forward. My guess is what we're going to see is Brock Lesnar pull double duty at Mania, defend his WWE Championship against Bobby Lashley in night 1, and then go on to fight for the Universal Championship, whether he has the WWE title or not, against Reigns on night 2. That's the way I see it. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time on the Redacted Report. Take care.